Welcome to Reggie's Discussions, where there's no filler, no fluff, but we keeps it a buck. And today we're going to talk about sports media. I got my big bro Stan in the building. Stan, what's up, man?
What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Maintaining, brother. So I know you have a huge issue with sports media. So I'm gonna let you start it off, man. What's your issue with sports media?
My problem has always been the media controls a lot of how people think, and media in general in this country is screwed up. We're not going to talk about the other stuff, but just stick to sports.
Yeah.
But the media it has an influence on how people think of things. And when it comes to sports and the way sports is covered in 2024, media has influenced people and how they look at athletes. It's like, wait a second. So now, like, it's ESPN in particular has gone so far off the rails of what it used to be, and it used to be, it's always been about getting out scores and sports and talking about the news and this happened, this game happened, and it went from that to now it's a clown show. It's That's how many clowns can we fit into the clown car, and it's like how many clowns can we put on television? And it's like they have people on there who are good at their jobs. Like they have people who can break down the games. And I understand that everybody doesn't like X and O's and okay, this is why the Bucks the Bucks are giving up all these points or why the Bucks aren't playing this two-man game with Giannis and Dame. Why are they doing a two-man game with them two? No, people like to have the clowns talk and do the, well, it's this guy's fault because the team isn't winning, or who's to blame for this team losing, or who's to blame for the Ravens losing the AFC Championship game. And it's like, why isn't it about the fact that the other team was better? It has to be somebody's fault. It has to be a blame a blame pizza,
But
and
but
it's just
but don't you think that that's just kind of how everyday people consume sports. Like when you turn on
not
like the radio,
everybody.
well, when you turn on the radio and you listen to uh after the game is over, so after the Ravens lost the AFC Championship game, you turn on the radio, like people were saying that kind of stuff. They were assuming, assigning blame. That's just kind of how like everyday people consume sports. So like, yeah, people are gonna say it's Lamar's fault or it's whoever's fault because after you lose, you want to blame somebody. That's just how people are. Don't you think that that's
Well,
it's
it
like
is. Yeah, it is an extension of sports radio. And again, I grew up on sports radio. I grew up listening to sports radio at night. 'Cause, that's what we listened to at night going to bed. So I grew up on hearing people call in and say dumb shit all the time on the radio. You know what I'm saying?
right?
That's nothing new. But it's gotten to a point now where that's all it is. It's like it's got to be this guy, and then I got to argue my point, and then you have to argue your point. It's very contrived, and it's all a copy of the Stephen A. Skip Bayless playbook.
Right.
And I remember listening to Dan Lebertard. Dan Lebertard did a thing with Stephen A. where they spoke on this stuff, and it's a very rooting listen. I recommend you listen to it.
I'll check it out.
Where they go back and forth about why Lebertard goes back and forth about why he thinks sports media sucks now, and he blames Stephen A. and Skip Bayless for it. Now, to be fair, it's not all their fault, but they became the poster boys for this stupid debate show format that has now just taken over ESPN. It's taken over Fox FS1. I mean, FS1 basically tried to copy First Take when Skip came over there with Shannon, and that show was pretty successful for what it was until Bayless's ego got out of control because he couldn't handle the fact that Shannon Sharp became more popular now.
Yeah.
And now that show is dying. Nobody
Right.
watches it, and it's gonna
Right.
probably be canceled before the football season. And Bayless is gonna be out on his ass because and I think Skip Bayless is really the poster boy for all this stuff. He's the poster child of why this has happened because he made it cool to hate on athletes. He made it cool to ride the coattails of LeBron James. How can anybody hate LeBron James? And I'm not talking about, well,
wait. A lot of people hate LeBron James. Like LeBron James is a pretty polarizing athlete. I mean, people despise
and why
LeBron
is
James.
that? And why
I
is
don't know.
that? What
I
is
don't
so
know. I don't
polarizing
know.
about LeBron James? Like
Well,
he has, and again, this is not me talking as a Lakers fan. This is me
mhm,
talking as a sports fan, as somebody that looks at LeBron and what he's accomplished in 20 years playing basketball, something that will not be duplicated.
I agree.
And he's on the court, he's excelled at every expectation that was put in front of him. When he was drafted at 19 coming in or 18 coming into the league as a high schooler, going to Cleveland, a franchise that had been a toilet for I don't know how long, and he exceeded every expectation as a hometown kid in Cleveland and hometown. Took the Cavs. Of course, it took him a while, but he went back and he did win a championship in Cleveland. Off the court, he's a model citizen, never been in trouble, no scandals, no stupid stuff, no getting pulled over driving 100 miles per hour at 2 in the morning drunk.
Hmm.
He's a family man. He's been married to the same girl since high school. He's a
Hmm.
model citizen. He's a great story. And I feel that because of the Baylesses of the world that have created this ridiculous, he's trying to be Michael Jordan, it it has been going on since LeBron really started to excel and he elevated his game to the top of the NBA. It's been this Jordan stuff is really was really it's really they've made me hate that debate
Oh,
because
for
of
sure,
this.
for sure,
They've made me hate that debate because they have
absolutely.
made it into it's almost toxic now.
It is.
Because even on both sides of it, it's almost toxic.
It is.
Because you gotta take a dump on one guy to big up your
Right.
guy. You gotta be like,
Right.
well, LeBron was this he's 6-9 in the finals, and LeBron he never Michael had this guy. Michael had a top 75 teammate. LeBron never had a
Hmm.
top 75
Right.
teammate. It's just
Yeah.
why can't we appreciate the greatness of a bunch of guys without having to go into this stupid ass GOAT debate? Which I hate the term GOAT, by the way. I hate that LL Cool J made that up. I
On a
hate it.
bad
I hate it.
on a bad album. He called the album "Goat." The album was
On
horrible.
a bad album, on a terrible album, and he created this. And he doesn't, of course, he doesn't get credit for this, but he created this acronym that I now feel is so overdone. It's annoying now. But I think the media's played a role in that. They made a role in this. We have to denigrate this guy to big up this guy. We have to put down this guy to big up my guy.
But here's
And
the
I just
thing,
don't
though.
like it.
Here's the thing, though. I think that you have to understand that like sports media is going to be about entertainment too, and what's more entertaining to watch. So like to me, like it's the appropriate answer to this is that you can't really compare because it's from two different eras. And Jordan's era things were a certain way, and LeBron's era things are a certain way. Free agency is different. The way you can defend is different. You could defend more physical back then, but at the same time, you're allowed to zone defense now. You can play off of a guy now. You couldn't do it back then. Back then, it was called illegal defense. So,
Hmm.
yeah, but that's me saying that isn't entertaining to watch. What's entertaining to watch is 4-6 in the finals. Is that what the thing is? Whatever it is, LeBron's
He's
record in the
three.
finals.
Yeah, yeah. He's 4-8, whatever his
Yeah,
record is. I
whatever it
mean,
is. It's more entertaining to
of course
say that
they.
than it is that.
Yeah, and of course they don't put in there that those four of those losses came against the Monstar Golden State Warriors.
Right.
And he went up against Steph and Draymond and Clay and Kevin Durant in two of those finals, and that team was never going to be beaten by anybody on
No,
this planet. You had to
I
go.
agree.
You would have to put together a team off Mars or something to beat them.
They
But
still would have
no,
lost in
it's just
six.
yeah, they still would have lost in six against that team.
Yeah.
Against that team, yeah.
Hmm.
But and even Durant has been scrutinized by the media, and I think it's not been very fair. I mean,
Hmm.
Stephen A. was talking about Durant's leadership, and Durant's not a leader. It's like KD has always been a lead by example guy. He's never been a rah 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 get in your face type of leader. He thinks everybody's supposed to be fucking Michael Jordan, and no, everybody's not Michael Jordan. And stop comparing these guys to Michael Jordan. That's another thing that they do that annoys the crap out of me. Is this constantly trying to compare them to guys of the past, and again, different eras, different style of play, different mindset.
I
The
agree.
guys today have a different mindset. I know it's that's what I'm saying. It's gotten to a point of entertainment over education. And I understand that
Yeah,
everybody doesn't want to be. It shouldn't always. Everybody doesn't want to be is like not into the X and O's of sports. I understand that. There needs to be a balance, I think, and I think ESPN has gone so far to the left of we're just going to have a bunch of over the top personalities instead of having people. You know what First Take is actually entertaining when Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp aren't on it. That's when it's good because they
mm,
put people on there. They'll put people on there that actually are talking sports, not yelling at each other like a bunch of idiots, just talking sports. And I understand, like I said, there's an audience for that, and that's fine. I'm just not a fan of it, and I think that it's hurt. It's influenced the way people talk about athletes, and
I don't
just
agree. I don't agree with that because like I think that these discussions were always had. I saw a video a couple weeks ago. It was Wilt Chamberlain. He was on some show, and the guy was literally talking to him about the whole goat thing. He was like, "I got Michael Jordan over you because of boom, why yada yada yada." Same kind of stuff you hear now about the rings and whatnot. And so yeah, like this stuff has always existed. It's not a new thing. What's new is these debate shows, as you said, with the Skip Bayless kind of brought that in. But the debate shows to me are a reflection on how we talk about sports. I get when high school, right? When I was in high school, because obviously Baltimore doesn't have a basketball team, everybody had their own squad. So I was a Magic fan, somebody else was
mhm,
a Laker fan, somebody else was a whatever
mhm,
fan, and
mhm,
so it was a thing. So people would talk a bunch of trash and like my team gonna do this, and then when they lost, you couldn't wait to see them. It was like, oh, where you
mhm.
at? It's the same kind of thing. So when the Cowboys lose, people would turn the TV. Oh boy, Shannon gonna give it to them. You know that is entertainment. Nobody's expecting an X's and O breakdown on these shows. You're just watching it to be entertained. That's it. So I mean,
That's fine.
I think First Take has like what 400,000 watchers every week, something like that.
Yeah, it's viewed pretty well doing for a daytime show. Yeah, it
Yeah,
does
that's
very
a
well
lot.
for a morning show. And again, it's basically dominating that time spot. And again, there's an audience for it, and that's fine. And ESPN has attached itself to that show, whereas 10 years ago they hated the show because they hated the Tim Tebow talk, because that was the first guy
But that
that
stuff, I thought that would have been was what really put the show on the map because that Tebow stuff was crazy. Everybody was talking about that. So I would have thought that's
yeah
kind of what put First Take on the map.
the people within ESPN hated it. They hated it
That's
because they
interesting.
didn't want. They hated it, and I've heard that from numerous people. I've heard that from Dan Lambertard, Stephen
Mm-hmm.
A. Those guys have said that the ESPN hated that. They hated the TiVo stuff. They hated the constant TiVo coverage, but they there were people within the company that did like it, the people that produced the show. And again, First Take was more so seen as an embarrassment when it first started. Now it's probably one of ESPN's most popular shows that everybody wants to be on. And I think where this kind of sparked my interest was when JJ Redick was on there a few weeks ago. And he went on this tirade with Stephen A. And it was actually pretty good television.
Mm-hmm.
And he went on this tirade. And again, I understand there's an audience for that. There's an audience for that type of content.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the barrage of it, and the fact that those two, Stephen A. and Skip Bayless, and again, I keep telling those two guys because, and I know that they weren't the first debate show. I know that.
Right.
I know the first
Right.
debate show was Party Interruption,
Mm-hmm.
but those were two journalists. And even Stephen A. at one point was a journalist. He is no longer a journalist. He may think he still is, but he is not. He is just a entertainer. That's what he is. But I just think that it's made people look at sports a different way, and created this rings culture that I am not a fan of, because I think it denigrates the great. I mean, can you imagine like denigrating Chris Paul because he hasn't won a championship? or Carmelo Anthony, because those were two of the best players of this era, and everyone's going to look at them like, well, they didn't win a ring, they didn't win a chip. I
But
mean, it's
dude, that's always been a thing. Like people have talked about Karl Malone and Charles Barkley not winning rings for years. That didn't come when the debate shows came. People criticize Wilt Chamberlain because he has these ridiculous statistics and he only got 2 rings. Like people have always done that. That's not a new thing. It's just these debate shows have put it more forefront. But that's always been a topic of discussion. Always
I
has.
guess that's fine, and I agree. And again, and I have to. That's a good point, and it has been always been a topic. I mean, again, it is a thing in terms of individual athletes where what did you accomplish as a team? What did you? But
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it should overshadow an individual's career should not be overshadowed by the fact that they didn't win a ring.
I
Like you
agree.
can't say that Barkley and Malone were not two of the best of their era. They just happened to play during the Jordan era.
Right. I agree.
Unfortunately, played during the Jordan era. It's like these guys in the NFL, Lamar and Burrow and all these guys, Justin Herbert and Josh Allen, playing in this Patrick Mahomes era,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
where they might be the MVP, but Mahomes is going to be the guy at the end.
Right.
So it's. I understand these arguments have always been around. I guess my issue is ESPN has just turned themselves over to this, and now it's like that's all you see. Like we're gonna get rid of guys like Jalen Rose, who actually did a great job breaking down basketball on these shows. The NBA today is just a great example. That used to be a really good show. It used to be a very good basketball show. Even the show beforehand that Rachel Nichols hosted, The Jump, was a very good basketball show. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's just a Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson clown show. It's Perkins going up there saying his stupid country catchphrases and here we go and all that cool stuff. And I'm
That
just
stuff
not a fan of it, man.
is
Not
funny,
a fan of
man.
it.
It makes me
And
laugh
again, you may think
sometimes.
it's funny, and some people might think it's funny. I think it's idiotic, and I think there's a time and place for it. And I
So
think there's a time. I am a fan of. I'm just a fan of hearing people speak about sports in a way that I understand, and it's not stupid. It's not clownish. It's not. Here's my catchphrase. Here's the funny thing that I always say, and here's it's just silly. And Kendrick
so
Perkins again. I think
so
Perkins.
you've never been in either like a group convo or a barbershop or something, and somebody's in there just saying like outlandish stuff like this my team is gonna go 16-0 or some old crazy. You never been in a situation like that
Of
where somebody
course it
did that?
is. Yeah,
Well,
and
that's
you
what
never
that
took that
is.
person's and you never took that person seriously. You never took them seriously. You just like, okay, okay, that's cool. You're not gonna
It's
do that, but that's
entertaining. It's
fine.
entertaining. It's entertaining. That's it.
I get it. I just think that it's created this goofy way of how we talk about athletes and the reason why athletes hate the media is the reason
Mm-hmm.
like these guys. This is why these guys are all doing podcasts now. This is why these guys are all doing their own thing because they feel like the media has poisoned the fans' minds and thinking, well, you ain't shit because you didn't do this, or you ain't do this, or you ain't this, or you ain't that. And it's like, hold on, here's my outlet to get my stuff out. And that's why the athletes hate the media now. And just like I said, the media in this country in general is going off the rails, and
Mm-hmm.
misinformation has really
I agree.
affected everything that we have going on.
Mm-hmm.
Misinformation, promoting the wrong stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in the women's game yesterday is an example,
Mm-hmm.
and what Kim Murphy said about, well, I wish that she had pushed Angel Reese.
Yeah, I
Can
wish
you
she had.
imagine what? Could you imagine what the media would be saying right now if Dawn Staley had said that?
Right. No, now,
And
now
we
to
all
your
and we all know why that is. We don't have to go
but
there,
to
but
your point, though, the media that you are criticizing, Shannon Sharp said exactly that on First Take today.
yeah, Shannon Sharp did say that, and
Right.
I applaud him for saying that because he said what I don't know how many I hadn't heard too many media types say because for whatever reason they don't criticize that woman. And I don't understand why. And she has said some goofy stuff over the years
Right. Yeah.
about Angel. I mean, the Angel Reese situation was weird. We still don't know what the hell happened there.
Yeah. We really
And then
don't.
that's the Brittany Griner stuff and some
Mm-hmm.
of the social justice stuff that
Mm-hmm.
she's in. She's made some really weird comments, some goofy comments that she was never held accountable for.
Right.
And it's like they pick and choose who they hold
Right.
accountable. So
Right.
like I said, I know there's a place, the time and place for all this stuff, and I know there's a
Yeah.
time and place for entertainment. I just think ESPN has gone so far into the entertainment side that it's lost its credibility. When
So
you
tell me,
got goofs like, you give 2 hours a day to Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp, then you give another 2 hours to Pat McAfee, an ex-punter and a WWE superstar. And again, man, there's nothing about McAfee that's remotely entertaining. I mean, he's a goof.
oh, that's
And
entertainment.
yeah, he's a goof, and he had Aaron Rodgers on there. Aaron Rodgers said a bunch of dumb shit on his show, and that got
Yeah.
some, that got some media attention. It's just, I think that they have gone so far in the entertainment side, and not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough of you know. It's not
So
enough of solid sports talk. It's more entertainment,
So what would you
and I
do?
think
Like
it's
if you became the executive producer of First Take, what would you do different with the show? Or Undisputed or any of these shows you're talking about? What would
well,
you do different from
undisputed shouldn't exist at this point because Skip
the
Bayless is just Bayless is probably one of the most hated media figures in the world, not named Jason Whitlock. He is despised by most anybody because of the fact that I feel like Skip Bayless has made his money off the back of LeBron James and made his back of riding the crotch of Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, and the nonstop Cowboy stuff. It's like, yeah, we're Ravens fans. We don't give a two shits about the Dallas Cowboys. But that's pretty much what the show is about. It's about the Cowboys, LeBron, and Tom Brady. It's
Yeah,
just that's just a lot.
yeah,
But
yeah.
no, I mean, First Take exists should exist in its own little area. Again, this is the show, but we don't need to have the First Take, and we don't need to have the Pat McAfee show. We don't need to have NBA Today and Kendrick Perkins doing his clown stuff. It just it can be on First Take, and that's what First Take is. And if people want to watch that, they can watch that. You know, and I'm just not a fan of it. I'm not saying that it's. I think that it's affecting how people look at athletes, but it has its place. I think it influences people too much, and then too much negativity towards athletes is why athletes have turned on the media because it's just too much negativity, too much. It's this guy's fault. Or this guy did this, and creating too many narratives. Like Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson has revitalized the Ravens in the way that we as fans in this city look at them. You remember what the attitude towards the Ravens were in 2017? Wasn't great.
Mhm.
You and I attended the Ravens that last home game in 2017 when they were 9-6 and had a chance to beat the Bengals and get into the
Yeah,
playoffs and they lost. And we all sitting there and we left that stadium freezing our nuts off,
hmm
wondering where's this franchise going?
hmm
Where are we going? And Lamar came in and he completely not only revitalized that franchise, he saved John Harbaugh's job because John Harbaugh was going
absolutely.
to get fired the next season. I believe John would have been fired if we had not made the run that we made.
Hmm
So it's just Lamar is very polarizing around the media, and it's like, well, because he hasn't won a Super Bowl. That's the narrative, and yes, he's come up
Well,
short in big games.
yeah, I
He's come
think
up short in some big games,
that's
but let's be, come on,
that's a
he's a
that's a separate convo there about Lamar. But I
yeah,
think
it's a
there,
separate convo. We're not going to get into that. It's going to be
but
another
I think
20 minutes.
yeah, I think that's not so much about him not winning a Super Bowl. I think it's more so about his, like you just said, his performance in big games. At this point, we have enough data that shows that he plays his best football in November and December and not January. I think that's
Yeah,
what it comes from.
I just think that the media they play a role in how we look at athletes and some of the things that they say. And it's like really, like Josh Allen played his behind off in that game, and you're gonna blame Josh Allen for that loss? They
They
lost because the
always,
guy missed a 30-yard field goal. He didn't lose because Josh Allen. I mean, yeah, Josh Allen had plays he left on the field, but plays are left on the field by everybody in every big game. Mahomes could have put the Ravens in the freezer early in the AFC Championship game, but he didn't make the plays. Now, again, that's not to say that he didn't make the plays or that the Ravens defense step up. It's just
it sounds
we
like
we like to.
your main position is you think that the media should be more in the realms of educating more than entertaining.
I think there should be a happy balance.
Hmm
It's not a happy balance right now. That's what I will say. It is the same thing with hip hop, and again, separate discussion. We'll be here another 30 minutes with that, and
hmm
that there's not enough balance. There's not enough balance between education and entertainment. It's all, particularly with the 4-letter networks, it's all about entertaining. Let's put the biggest business again, fill up the clown car and put everybody on TV. There needs to be a little bit more of a balance. And I know there's guys on there that do a good job. JJ Redick, Dan Orlovsky do a great job actually breaking down games and breaking down X's and O's in a way that people can understand. But they've really made people really just go into this entertainment and this clown show. And I think it's just I think it plays a role in how people look at athletes. And I think that athletes, these are guys at the top of their game, at the top of a profession. There's already a negative aspect towards athletes in this country because of the fact they're rich and famous and all that stuff. Again, top of their professions, they deserve a little bit more respect, I think, than some of them get. Just as a handful of guys, I think deserve a little bit more respect. So,
Cool.
but there's a time and place for everything. But I wish things were more balanced there.
Cool. We'll leave it there. Appreciate you coming through, big bro. We'll
No,
talk
no
soon.
problem, man. Let's do it again.
No doubt. Peace.
Peace.